What if your front desk never missed a call, never forgot to verify insurance, never let a patient fall through the cracks on recall, and it did all of that automatically around the clock without you having to manage it? That's not a fantasy. That's what's already happening in dental practices right now. Now, I've been skeptical about a lot of AI tools that cross my desk. But today, I'm sitting down with the CEO of one that actually made me stop and pay attention. Stay with me. Welcome back to the Dental Office Managers Community Podcast. I'm Kyle Summerford, your host, dental office manager with over 2 decades in the chair of the front desk, and founder of DOMA, the Dental Office Managers Alliance. Today, I've got a guest who's building something I genuinely want you all to know about. Not because someone told me to tell you about it, but because I've been watching the AI space in dentistry very closely. And this one really caught my attention for the right reasons. Preston Sharp is the co-founder and CEO of Janie AI, a platform that's positioning itself as a full end-to-end operating system for dental practices. Preston, welcome to the show.
Awesome, Kyle. Really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Preston, if you wouldn't mind, can you please give us a little bit background on who you are and how Janie started?
Yeah, happy to. So I grew up in Arizona, had a lot of family who worked in dentistry in some form or another. I actually graduated high school and spent some time in a dental office myself. So kind of grew up around the space and heard a lot about the pain points and problems and the, war against insurance companies, so to speak. So grew up around that. I ended up going to college and studying information systems and business, and ended up going into healthcare consulting for a while. Did that, worked in product and tech, and then kind of, it's been 2 years now, just wanted to build a company in the healthcare space, and dentistry particularly was interesting given the connections that I had and the experience that I personally had in it. So called up my brother, who is a co-founder of mine, and he has a background in marketing and sales, and we just sort of dove right in and started providing services. And the idea was like, hey, AI is sort of this big thing that's on everybody's mind right now. Let's just do the work with humans and then figure out how we can sort of automate behind it. And so we started doing virtual assistants and workforce services for lots of different types of healthcare offices, and learned the ropes, learned about, the pains of revenue cycle and call center answering phones and whatnot. And then over time, we brought in a CTO, and we started automating a lot of this work. So that all started 2 years ago, and we've been going strong ever since. It's been really, really fun, really exciting, I think, to get to see what's happening in the world. It's a crazy time to build right now, outside of healthcare just generally, and then even inside dentistry and healthcare, you're just seeing so much change, so much new technology, maybe rethink the way that we do things. And I think that it can be scary to hear this word AI and automation, but I also think there's so much potential to empower humans to get more work done and to have better work lives. And so that's kind of what our main goal is.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. As you mentioned, you guys had started out as virtual assistants, and then you guys made your way into I guess it's called the tech space, and so really this leads to one of the questions I have, which is when you were building this, or when you decided to pivot, what were the tasks that kept coming up as the biggest time drains for office managers and front desk teams?
Yeah, great question. I mean, a lot of it, we've kind of realized as we were placing virtual assistants, and we also had our own sort of internal call center team, we kind of saw firsthand what the pains were, what was taking our agents the most time, right? And so answering phone calls, the phones can just ring over and over and over, and it can be really stressful for the desks to maintain calls and to not just answer the phones, but answering them in a way that drives to patient outcomes, to getting people into the chairs, right? And so that was a big one that we saw. Insurance verification, you always hear about, not just necessarily a basic basic eligibility check, but really some offices really want to know exactly what kinds of services they can offer and what patient responsibility will be. And so we had so many agents just waiting on hold with insurance companies, just sitting there. And we felt like we wanted them to be able to do something else while they were waiting on hold. Is there any way we can automate this process? And so I think those were two really big ones. And collections, a lot of time spent just trying to follow up with patients and get them to pay their bills, because dentists don't necessarily want to send their patients to collections, right? They want to try and collect it in-house and maintain that relationship. And so we had a lot of agents who were making those phone calls.
Awesome. Yeah, bringing up collections. So I actually saw a post in the group, I think it was yesterday, actually. The question was to the group, we have a lot of patients who have outstanding bills from a previous dentist, right? It was a newly purchased practice, a new owner. They were kind of a little unsure about how to go about collecting that money. What they had said was they didn't want to lose patients, right? That's kind of, it ties back to exactly what you said, right? You don't want to scare off the patients, and it's very time consuming as well, right? I could imagine having to go through all of those accounts, and send out all of these bills. The kicker here is that it's a new practice owner. So it's like, the patients are going to feel a little differentiated, right? They're going to feel like, well, this new doctor just took over and now they're just hungry for money. But with Janie, right? Can you kind of walk us through that process? Like, how could Janie fit into that with the statements and collecting?
Yeah, specifically in the case where there's like a practice transition, like an ownership transition, right? Yeah, I think that's a great question. We have collection sequences, and this product is still very much in I would call it alpha, not even beta. But this notion of like, hey, okay, we have outstanding claims or patient responsibilities. We need to collect on these. We've, tried mailers. Maybe we've made a couple phone calls, but it's, as like the front desk can't be sitting there making phone calls on collections all day. They've got other things. They need to get, other patients in the door, higher value patients. And so when you think about tackling that responsibility that is like patients, having like customized sequences, having a text message conversation where the patient can ask questions, and the AI agent that is sending that message like has context for that patient, right? Like it understands like what treatment was provided, when it was provided, what the insurance actually paid on this particular claim. And I think there's a layer of being able to explain things that an automated canned collections message is not going to be able to deliver. Not to mention that like maybe things escalate. Maybe the patient engages in the conversation over SMS and has questions. Like we can do a live handoff to someone sitting in the front desk who can take over that conversation. And maybe it's something specific. Maybe things get heated. We can manage that and transfer it to a human, which is like a great place to talk about like why humans are so important, because sometimes people just they want to hear empathy. They want to talk, and like AI is great, but it can't necessarily always provide that, right? And so we want to make sure that we are flagging those cases where human empathy and like the skills that we hire for on the front desk are really, really needed. And then we make that connection. So again, like this one's still in alpha, but I'm pretty optimistic about the ability to just like increase collections for dental offices.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I always talk about how office managers are very task saturated. Their work carries over day to day. It's like a constant catch-up game that you never really finish. It's like a cycle, right? And I see it all day long in the Facebook group, all day long in our community, where it's like just a vicious cycle. That's just the nature of it. So in terms of Janie, right, could you possibly walk us through what Janie actually does on a given day in a practice? Like, for example, if I'm an office manager showing up Monday morning, I probably have a ton of work sitting there. So what did Janie do over the weekend that I'm going to notice instantly?
Great question. So the most important thing you'll come back to is you'll see that Janie answered a lot of phone calls over the weekend, and perhaps it scheduled appointments. Perhaps it took down, notes. Maybe someone had some billing questions and Janie took down notes, asked some specific questions, and then created a task for the team. It's like sort of like an intelligent voicemail, right? And so the team can come in, they might see their tasks of like things that were more complicated than, scheduling or FAQs that require human touch, right? And so those tasks are sitting there for the office team to handle. And they go through and they can see, okay, these are the appointments that Janie has scheduled for us. Oh, it looks like one of those appointments is coming up in 2 days. Oh, Janie also was smart enough to send a text message requesting the the insurance card, right? So we got insurance information from that patient already. They've uploaded their card. That's sitting here. We've sent it to your EagleSoft Doc Center, and we've also kicked off a verification process for that same patient. So like it's a new patient. We might not be okay with the basic eligibility check at this point. We want to do a full breakdown. And so we've taken the office's breakdown form and we've kicked off a full breakdown, right? And so you can see that maybe it's in process, maybe it's already done. If it's Monday morning, it's probably not already done. But you'll see that there's multiple breakdowns that are in process now because we booked new patients over the weekend, and then over time you'll get notified when those things come back in. And so ideally, the patient, you haven't seen them yet, maybe you haven't even talked to them yet, but you got them booked in your PMS. You have their insurance information in the PMS. We've also now sent a completed breakdown form to your PMS so that you know everything that you can offer them and what their responsibility will be when they leave the office.
Wow. Wow. Wow, man. That's quite impressive, because again, like as an office manager who comes in on a Monday morning, chances are they might have some work sitting there from Thursday or Friday. It's carrying over to Monday, right? And then the first thing they have to do is they have to figure out what the Monday looks like and how to catch up on that on the day itself, right? So that's amazing that you guys are able to handle a lot of this stuff and automate it. A lot of that would be done manually, and it would take a lot of time, So Preston, thanks for sharing that. And so I want to get into a little bit. Let's talk about PMS integration, right? What does that look
Let's do
like?
it.
Because our managers have heard it. It integrates with your system from a dozen vendors, and sometimes it doesn't go smoothly. So what's the honest answer here?
The honest answer is we do what we can, right? Like we're playing ball with these PMS vendors, and like I'm now in the space, and I've started to feel the pain that a lot of dentists and office managers feel, where it's like, hey, this is my data. I want to share it with who I want to share it with, but that's not always allowed by some of these vendors. And so we do integrate with, I would say, 70 to 80% of PMS in the marketplace, but being fully candid and transparent, the big three are far and away the deepest integrations, right? Like, and so we have more read access, we have more write access. We have a direct integration with Open Dental that is really powerful. Love Open Dental. I wish everybody was on Open Dental. I think, but like, some of the cloud PMS, it's just, you do what you can, right? And I think anyone who tells you that they, like in our space, like these AI solutions, we're all dealing with the same deck of cards, right? Where we integrate with what we can integrate with, and we're all fighting the battle to try and get direct integrations and partnerships with these companies who are very incentivized to keep us out, who are incentivized to build their own solutions, right? So I can say, like, you definitely want to ask about, like, well, how are you integrating? What is the nature of your integration? What can you read? What can you write? I know it gets technical, but it's really important to understand, like, what we're doing with data. A good example is for us, like, we would love to be able to update patient insurance information right there in the patient profile. And we can for some practice management systems, but for a lot of them, we simply can't. They don't let us, right? And so instead, we just have to send like PDF forms that we fill out into their doc center. So we have workarounds like that. And I wish I could say that we had perfect, deep integrations with every single PMS in the dental space. Unfortunately, that's a long road and a process that we're all walking. So
yeah, I appreciate the honesty, the transparency, right? I look at these podcasts that I do for our community as like Kyle's doing the demo for the members, right? I'm kind of, asking the questions that an office manager would actually ask.
Right.
And so if I can help kind of answer some of these questions with you here, I think, our audience would really appreciate, and they appreciate the honesty, right? So with that being said, Preston, talking about transparency and honesty, I want to be real with our community here, right? Because they trust me to be straight with them. So what does Janie not do yet? Where are the limitations?
Yeah, lots of limitations, right? Where I think I maybe started out thinking that, wow, like AI can do everything. We're just gonna go in there and like I'm scared for my job. Like, and I think that what we've seen is AI can't do everything. And then there's a lot of things that AI not only can't do, but shouldn't do, right? And I think that that's been comforting for me to see and experience. I really think that, dentistry it's a people business, and like it's really important to prioritize prioritize people and patient experience. And so as far as what our platform can't do, we don't think that we're ever going to be as good at, like, for example, when someone calls in and they have a problem or they're frustrated, like, yes, like for really busy high volume practices, like we can try to reduce those calls. But at the end of the day, sometimes people need to speak to humans. They need that connection. They need to feel like their practice cares about them, right? And so I think there's de-escalations that I wouldn't trust an AI to handle. There's also really, really complicated clinical questions that we don't want AI touching at all, right? We want to make sure
Right.
that AI just recognizes when something is clinical and needs a human and passes it right to the correct individual that can answer those questions. I think there's also like financial situations and questions that we don't necessarily want AI involved with. And so those are some like limitations I see on the sort of like patient engagement voice layer side. I think that we're never going to be like replacing like in-office people in the sense that like when you're a patient, you want to go in, you want to talk to a human, you want to see someone you're familiar with, you get to know the people at your dental office. And I think it's really important that we support those people, we augment those people, we help them get more done. Never replace, because that's not what a patient wants. I think, maybe if you're a giant health system or hospital and like it gets more cold and clinical and you can
Right.
like at scale deal with like a lot of like AI, fine, like, Delta or something like that. But here, like dental is very much a small, like an SMB space, right? Even like the DSOs, like they're small offices who are trying to provide like a concierge experience to the patients. It really matters that patients feel like they're being seen and taken care of. So that's been an interesting insight, and I think that's really important. Also, right now we still have AI supporting a lot of these revenue cycle processes where I'm right now I spend most of my time thinking through some of this RCM functionality. We're launching really exciting things over the next few months in that space, but like it's very much a tool that supports and augments. It is not going to replace the judgment and the empathy that the office manager has in sort of determining like what a patient's responsibility should be. How do we handle this really weird situation where the payer is, saying no, but we promise the patient this one thing? Like you've got to have human judgment in a lot of those conversations.
Yeah.
And I think for us, we want to surface the right data and let office managers make the best decision.
Yeah, I really appreciate you delivering the message to the community, right? Because there's a lot of anxiety in our community, in dentistry, in other fields as well about AI replacing jobs. And, I have my own thoughts on that, which align with yours, in fact, where you will need that human, right? You need that human connection. AI can't replace that, even if you put a robot in there, right? I mean, the robots
Yeah,
are how friendly, how warm can you make the robot? I don't know. I guess we'll find out one day in our lifetime. We'll see.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, but Preston, for the office manager who's maybe a little bit nervous, who's a little unsure about job security and things like that, what's maybe just a short thing you can share with them of encouragement?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that, Kyle, because I think it's really important. I spend a lot of time thinking about this. I would say no office manager needs to be concerned, in my opinion, about their job anytime soon. Right now, the best use for AI is engineering and coding, right? And you'd think that I watch my team and my company, like with the amount of amount of code we can write with AI is truly insane. And when you look into it, you'd think that the natural next step would be like, okay, well, we don't need any engineers anymore. Like non-technical people can now code. Maybe I just need one person who can do everything. And it turns out that we're seeing engineering jobs stay steady, if not increase. There's more demand for engineers because people want to build more, they want to do more. And I think that for me, like that is a really great lesson of like what the value of AI really should be. AI is a tool that doesn't replace engineers, it augments them. And I think the same is true for dentistry. I think when you look at office managers and the day-to-day work that they do, I've been blown away by you don't office managers are all underpaid everywhere. It is like a really complicated, stressful job, and you're managing like a pretty large business. And I think that there's a lot of nuance that like people just don't understand about what it is to be an office manager. And I think that what we should be thinking about is how can we take these amazing tools like ChatGPT or Claude and like put them in an office to improve the abilities, the efficiency, and just the awareness of our office managers. I think that's really the thesis behind Janie, is that like we want to build an operating system that sort of acts as a co-pilot, as a partner to our office managers and their front desk teams. I do not think that the human experience of dentistry is something that you can automate away. I think you want to free them up to focus on doing more human, high empathy, high escalation tasks, but you can't get rid of that human connection in dentistry. If I'm a patient, I'm not going to go to the office that like never lets me talk to a human, or the office that heaven forbid has a robot behind the front desk. That's just
Right.
that's not the experience I want to have, right?
Yeah, man, I agree with you on that. And when I talk about AI in the group, right, I do speak on AI a little bit. And so we do have quite a few members from our community who actually have signed up for my course on AI, which actually ties back to what you just said, using ChatGPT and Claude, learning the AI itself, right? Learning how you can use it as a thought partner. And if I truly believe that if office managers were to embrace AI and say, okay, I'm going to look at this as something that will help increase my self-value, right? Then ultimately it's going to help them. It's not going to work against them. And I mean, I see that with everything you're talking about with Janie. So let's talk a little bit about implementation, okay? Because the people in our group are busy, right? We know office managers, we just spoke about it. They're managing teams, they're handling claims, they're dealing with patients. What's the realistic ask on their time to get Janie up and running?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Janie does a lot right now, and we're adding more. There's the patient engagement side that to set up. The integration with the practice management system takes anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe depending on which PMS they use, and that is fairly easy for the office manager to handle. And then we do extract some context, and so maybe like 2 to 3 hours for the engagement piece, all in. It's not terrible. The verification piece is even faster, right? So any like the revenue cycle stuff, and again, it's going to expand and get more complex over time. I will acknowledge that, but right now it's pretty fast. I think 30 to 45 minutes. We're also rolling out some marketing and growth features where we optimize websites for generative, like what they call it GEO, which is basically like AI getting discovered by AI, SEO, optimizing Google business profiles. So there's a lot of other like marketing based like solutions that we're launching. So all in, if you were to get the entire Janie package, like I'll be honest, like you might be looking at 4 to 6 hours of work over this course of like a week or two, but we think that your ROI comes pretty fast in terms of time savings.
Yeah.
So I think that we have a really great team. They're very white glove. We try to provide a concierge like sort of onboarding experience for our customers that are paying for the work, and that typically goes really well. So
Great. Yeah. I mean, I would say that's great. I know some software out there that I won't put any names out there, but it takes like 30 days to get set up with, heavy on the analytics side and things like that. But I mean, the amount of time that you're saying that an office manager has to invest, it's not that much time at all when you think about all the time you're going to save, right? So we think long term here, and we think like, oh, I want to be less stressed. I want to be able to breathe on a Monday. All of this that Janie is offering is going to save all that time, and that time's going to add up. And so, office managers, some of them, or most from what I see in the group, they talk about burnout. Burnout is a big concern. And again, it is tied to all the tasks that they're given, the responsibilities. Like you said, they're running a small business, but in a way, it's not a small business, right? It's like there's healthcare involved, there's patient interaction, there's team management, all of those things. So look, I think what you guys have is great. And so, being that we are now working with you guys are trusted partners of the dental office managers community in Doma. What is the special offer that you guys have for our community?
yeah, so we're super excited to be part of the community. I think the first place to check is we actually offer our platform for free. So you can go on, you can sign up. There's free features that we consider like, hey, it's 2026. We don't want to charge for software that isn't doing any work for you. So all of those features are free. You can sign up without a credit card. I encourage everybody to go and start there. And then our paid modules are more of this, like they're agentic, they get work done for you. And those do cost money. I'd be happy to offer a 30-month free trial for anybody in your community to try and use those paid features as well if they're interested.
Awesome. Did you say a 30-day trial?
Yep, 30-day trial.
30-day trial. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. And I'm sure our community will appreciate it as well. Preston, last question before we wrap this up. If there's one thing you want every dental office manager watching or listening to this to take away from our conversation today, What is it?
I would say you hear this all the time in the tech space. You're not going to get replaced by AI. You're going to get replaced by someone who's really good at AI, right? And I think that's my biggest takeaway is like you should be using AI to empower yourselves to not only get more work done and be more efficient and collect more for the office, but also to have better work-life balance and to feel less stress, right? That's what it's for. And so I would encourage everyone to look at different AI solutions, whether it be Janie or another, and think about how can I use this to make myself better and happier. And I think we got to be intentional about what we do with AI, and that's where I'd start.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, man. Hey, so for our community members that are watching this right now, we are going to drop the Janie.ai link at the bottom of this video. You guys check them out, do a demo, and see if it's a good fit for your practice. I appreciate all the information you share with us today, Preston. And so, look, I don't bring tools on this show to push them, right? All of our community members, they know that about me. But what I do bring are conversations that are worth having. And AI in dentistry is a conversation every single one of our community members here needs to be having right now. Janie AI is worth a look. Again, I'm going to drop the link in the comments and show notes so you guys can check it out yourselves, okay? Book a demo, see if it's a fit for your practice. Preston, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. And I will see you guys on the next Dental Office Managers Community podcast. Take care, guys.